Most depictions of cherry trees in art depict the pink Japanese cherries. Our local cherry trees, on the other hand, have white blossoms and are therefore not so easy to paint, because you have to represent the white mainly through the surrounding colors. So in principle, you have to paint the negative shapes. In this video, I'm going to show you how I solve this. Hello and welcome back to Art for Everybody. My name is Evi Steiner-Böhm. I'm an artist from Germany, and I also have two little assistants who are called Pedro and Rosa. And now, without further ado, I would like to show you how you paint those cherry blossoms. As far as the material is concerned, I use a simple watercolor board, watercolor brushes in 3 sizes, a feather to scratch the thin veins into the leaves, and of course watercolor paints and water. Our cherries grow in thick clusters, which unfortunately doesn't make a very attractive composition. That's why I invent some blossoms and leaves in my preliminary drawing to fill the space in an aesthetic way. Unfortunately, I have to make the drawing very delicate because I can only put a very small amount of color into the white flowers, and you would very likely see the drawing through the color if it were stronger. So next I fill in the background. Around the flowers I use a very thick dark blue made of phthalo blue, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Towards the left side I let the color turn into a delicate yellow to suggest sunshine. And now come the leaves, which usually have a warm shade of green that I mix from cadmium yellow and ultramarine blue. Occasionally they may turn reddish, and for that I add a little crimson. My pen is now used for the leaves. I scratch the veins into the wet paint, and by that get very thin, fine strokes that I couldn't achieve with a brush. Now only after everything else is covered with color I can start to paint the cherry blossoms. You can clearly see on the real flowers I have put on the finished painting in the corner that we only have a light grey tone for the shadows, which sometimes turns bluish. You really have to be super careful here and work with a lot of water so that the grey tones don't get too dark. I always keep my kitchen towel ready here, so I can take the color back straight away if necessary. If you want to achieve a painterly effect, you can add a little crimson here and there, but be careful. If it turns too pink, you'll probably end up with apple blossoms. For the illuminated areas, I now mix a delicate orange tone made from cadmium yellow and crimson with a lot of water and use it to indicate the reflections of the sunlight. Again, using a grey tone, I draw the dark veins of the leaves in some places, but make sure that they are very loosely distributed and sometimes can only be guessed. Now comes the interesting part. I mark the center of each flower with a very dark green and then dab the yellow-orange pollen into the flowers. The pollen tubes are actually white, but I solve that by drawing them with a soft green. The viewers usually won't question this because they still get the information they need to identify the flower. And finally, I mix a very dark color of ultramarine blue and burnt sienna and intensify the drawing in some places. This makes a very strong light-dark contrast, and the white of the delicate flowers is emphasized even more. And now only the small branch is left to be painted, and I also increase the background color in some places to make the color contrast even stronger. And maybe you can see here why I personally prefer cellulose watercolor board. My style is impressionistic, and the overlays give me a similar effect to that in oil painting, where the visible brushstroke is an essential design element. And this is what the picture looks like in a passepartout that shows off the white flowers even more. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you can use my example for your own picture, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.